Hey guys, it's Logan, and welcome to a Broncos fan. Me reacts to the Broncos schedule. The NFL schedule was released Wednesday, I think, last Wednesday. Um, so if you want to see all the games for your team, I mean, you can. But I just thought I'd show you my reaction to the Broncos schedule, or which games I think we win, which games I think we lose. Um, Absolute best record we can possibly have, absolute worst record I think we can possibly have. So let's get into it. Apparently there's only one preseason game. I don't care about that. So, starting week 1 against the New York Football Giants. Um, yeah, I think that's her name. I I think we win. That's just me. Like I get the Giants did like get better. They got Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay as wideouts, but I still think we have a much better team, or if not roster. Um, so I think you can mark that as a dub. Um, I mean, it's also easier just because the Giants' coaching staff didn't change at all. Uh, so what applied last year is mostly going to apply this year. So you can plan for that more easily. Whereas the Jaguars, they just changed everything. So you're only going to have 1 week of film on them. Which I also, same with the Jets, you only get 2 weeks of film on them. But the Broncos do start off with two away games, both East Coast, which ain't great. I mean, hopefully you can return in week 3 at home in your home opener 2-0, and then hopefully win that game. Um, but I think one of the biggest things for the Broncos is you want to start off like you want to start off well. Like the last couple years, we've gone like 0-3 or 0-4 or 0-2, like in the first couple of weeks, which that just kind of sets the whole mood for the entire season. So I mean, it's not great. Um, so hopefully they can win these first couple of weeks. So overall, I think they win at or in New York, and then Jaguars come in, or they go to Jacksonville. I think that's also a win. Just because Jaguars were the worst team. Yeah, they did improve, but I think uh, Broncos just more experience, more, or they didn't completely change the entire coaching staff. So then we go on to the Jets, the home opener. I think this is also a win just because, again, really young quarterback, completely new system, um, and all these three teams were not great last year. So, I mean, I think they're wins. I think the biggest challenges are in the games after that. I mean, it's kind of weird how our schedule works because we have 3 easy games followed by 2 really hard games, or not really hard, but difficult games, and a mediocre game. Then a difficult game. Then Washington has good defense. Cowboys they're gonna put up a fight just because they can score a lot of points. Eagles not really. Um, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ravens, I think is gonna be a pretty tough game just because they have a really good defense, and they obviously Lamar Jackson. And they got Rashad Bateman and they got what's his name? Tylan Wallace. That's his name. I like Tylan Wallace, so that should be a pretty difficult game at home. And then the Steelers, again, another really difficult game. Um, so I mean, it's the Steelers. You don't know how well Ben Roethlisberger is going to do. I don't know how well their offensive line is going to do. Their defense should be solid, but there's just some holes on offense that you need to account for. So I think that can possibly be a win. It depends on how well everybody's doing. I mean, especially because the Broncos have top 10, top 5, top 3 defense in the league. Um, and then onto the Raiders at home, our first divisional game. It's kind of weird because we have like five, yeah, five of our last 7 games are like divisional games. Like you have Chargers, Chiefs, and then Lions, Bengals, which aren't divisional, but then Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. Just kind of interesting. But back to the Raiders. That I think at home this is a win. Um, yeah, I mean it's interesting just because the Raiders. It really depends. I think some days they can beat like last year's Saints, but then some days they lose like to last year's Bears, which I know the Bears made the playoffs, but they weren't good. Um, so I think that depends on the day. And then Browns, that this is our only primetime game. I take that as an insult. I That's just me, but I hate that we only have one primetime game, which is Monday Night Football, and that also kind of it might be Thursday night. Yeah, because it's Sunday. No, yeah, it's a Thursday night game. Um, but each team is mandatorily gets one primetime game, which is Thursday night football, Sunday night football, or Monday night football. Now there are other time slots that can be prime time if they have to like rearrange things. Um, but this just shows me that it's kind of uh, uh, and it makes me kind of mad that like the league doesn't think we can be like a prime time team. That's just me. It just kind of irks me. But the Browns, I think that's gonna be a very difficult matchup, just because you're in Cleveland. You saw what they did last year, and I think the Broncos had a really good passing defense, not as great of a rushing defense. Um, and the Browns are primarily centered around the run. But yeah, I think that's more of an L. And then on to Washington. This is an interesting one because their offense ain't great. They do have scary Terry McLaurin, and they also got Diami Brown. They did bring Ryan Fitzpatrick in, get a little Fitz magic in there, but their offense ain't great. Let's just be honest. They have a trash offense. But they have a really good defense. They have a star-studded defense. Ryan Kerrigan just left, I think for the Eagles, but obviously they have Chase Young. They have Kendall Fuller. They have Deron Payne. They have Montez Sweat. They have all these really good players on the defense, and they had a very good defense last year. They just barely lost to the Bucks in the playoffs. Um, so I think that might be difficult. We might get them, or I think we both have stingy defenses, so that might be like a lower scoring game. Still, I think that could and probably will be a win. Then on to the Cowboys. This is a difficult one. It just depends how Dak is playing, I think. Um, because obviously last year they sucked without Dak Prescott, who like was on pace for really great numbers until obviously he got hurt. Um, mm, but I think they don't have the best defense, so it also depends on how the starter for the Broncos is doing at QB. Uh, whether that be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater or Brett Ripien or Case Cookus. I think yeah, they like signed another quarterback. Um, yeah, I had to sneeze. I think Brett Ripien is on the team. I'm everything is someone else. No, he is because they cut Jeff Driscoll. Um, but yeah, I think Cowboys defense ain't great. Again, it depends on Broncos QB play. Um, so probably a win. But you never know. And then Eagles, that again, they can be really good on some days and really bad on others. Just all depends like how they play. It is a home game. They have like 9 out of 8 home games. Um, or 9 home games, 8 away games. So I mean, it's yeah, their quarterback room is trash. Like Jalen Hurts ain't the answer. I think they got Jamie Newman, but he ain't good or he ain't great. Um, so that depends. Chargers. This starts the streak of um, what's it called divisional games. Oh, and the bye week. I know it doesn't show it, but it is right between these two games. You jump 2 weeks, so I think we have a really good bye week just because it's later in the season. You want a later, mid to later bye week, which we do have. It's in week 11 out of 18. So I think that's pretty good. A pretty good bye week. I mean, obviously, we got kind of cheated last year with the bye week when we had to move it up because the Patriots and Cam Newton and COVID, baby. But I think good bye week right there. We'll be able to give our guys a rest. And then Chargers. This is a difficult one just because, the Chargers are a more up and coming team. I actually think we have one of the hardest divisions in the league. I think we're up there with like the Steelers or the AFC North. But yeah, it's just interesting. Uh, I mean, obviously they have Justin Herbert. They've had Keenan Allen. They have Joey Bosa. They have Kenneth Murray. They have Derwin James. Um, so pretty decent team. I still think it is a win. I mean, it does kind of depend on um, QB play because I know last year they split the series. I'm pretty sure they split the series, but they won one of those games like just base off of like last minute like touchdown drive in the final seconds. So I mean, it's a toss up. I think the next week, uh, the Broncos at the Chiefs is going to be our hardest game just because it's at Arrowhead. The Chiefs, or that stadium is known for being really tough to play at, and it's the Chiefs. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have all these other guys that I don't really want to name right now. But it's just a really difficult environment with a really great team. So that's probably going to be a loss, but hey, you can't go 17-0. I mean, you can, but it's really difficult. Then the Lions at the Broncos. This should be easy. The Lions suck. Sorry, Dad. He's from Michigan. They've just always sucked, and now you have Jared Goofball. Um, uh, yeah, I think that's a Bengal thing. But Jared Goff ain't great. I don't even know who their other quarterbacks are, but it's just not a great team. Really trash defense, so that should be a win. Then the Bengals. This should be interesting. I do have some Bengal fan friends, people. So I think that's gonna be interesting. I'm probably gonna like if we win, I'm gonna be like, ha ha, hey. But if we lose, that's gonna be like, mm, man. So I think that should be decent. Obviously, they have Joe Burrow. They did get, or they have a pretty good receiving core. Not a great offensive line. Um, Decent running back. Not great defense. I mean, yeah, you do have Jesse Bates, but not a great defense. So I think that should be a win. Then Raiders in Vegas. I think I think this is where you split the series. Um, Maybe just because it's at Allegiant Stadium, it's gonna be more favored for the Raiders. Are the Raiders actually getting like a nightclub type thing like in their end zone? Like how, or you may or may not, but Jacksonville has like pools um in their end zone. But yeah, I think that one's again a kind of a coin flip. Then Broncos at Chargers in LA at SoFi Stadium. Um, that one's again. You might split the series, you might sweep them, you might lose it all. It's just kind of hard to tell. The Chargers are kind of a weird team. Then Chiefs at Broncos. Final game of the season, regular season. Hopefully not of the season. I want to make the playoffs. But this just depends if the Chiefs have already like secured a spot in the playoffs or like secured the number one seed, then they're probably gonna start or sit their starters. So then you probably win that game. But if it's their starters and they're vying for a playoff spot, then it's more obviously it's gonna be more difficult. So I think absolute best you go 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, uh wait, okay. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2. Yeah. 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, 9-3, 10-3, 11-3, um, 11-4, 12-4, 13-4. So I think absolute best case scenario, no or like everything goes splendidly. We go 13-4. Um, so I think again, absolute best 13-4. I think absolute worst is 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8. Uh, no, sorry, 3-7. Um, 4-7, 4-8, 5-8. Um, uh, 5-9, 5-10, 5-11, 5-12. Absolute best, what did I say? 13-4. I think I said 13-4. Absolute worst 5-12. Yeah, yeah. Absolute worst 5-12. That can be changed slightly. But I think that's absolute worst, absolute best, absolute worst. All goes well or everything goes to literal garbage. Um, but those are just some of the thoughts that I've had about the schedule released for the 2021 season. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Shout out or like tell me what you think about your team if you are facing the Broncos, or just what you think about your team schedule if you have seen it. Um, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Turn on those notifications. And comment below. Why not? And as always, thank you all so very, very, very much, and peace.